And some more breaking news, of course, on trade negotiations in Washington. A senior White House official tells CNN that, in fact, the United States is still trying to pursue a trilateral deal with NAFTA that would include both Mexico and Canada, and that is still the goal. Abby Phillip is at the White House following all of this. You know, Abby, that kind of dovetails into what we heard the Canadian foreign minister just saying that, look, a deal is still within reach. But here's what I'm going to put to you, Abby. I mean, as far as I know, the president will be at the White House this weekend. And I know in terms of how these negotiations have gone for literally months now, that Donald Trump still has to approve whatever they negotiate around that table. Have we learned any more about his posture? Because he keeps just saying that, look, Canada is basically take it or leave it at this point.
That's a great question. What is the president's position on whether or not he even wants a deal with Canada? He announced this week with great fanfare that he had reached a deal with Mexico. He said, we're working on Canada, but seemed to imply that they would be more than happy to go forward with just a Mexican trade deal. He's also said in the past that he actually prefers bilateral deals to these multi-party deals that the United States has been doing for many years now. But at the same time, this could be a case where the president is issuing what are essentially threats to Canada with some of his rhetoric, even while his government officials are working with them behind the scenes trying to get to a deal. They've said that next Wednesday they're going to meet again with the Canadians to continue these talks. They've sent the official notice to Congress giving 90 days notice that they are looking to make a deal with both Canada and Mexico basically by November. And the president is saying, you know, we'd be happy to get a deal with Canada, but if we don't, we're just going to tariff them. So these may just be threats aimed at getting Canada to the table, aimed at showing them that the president is serious about moving forward one way or another. But it is hard to know, given how much President Trump has talked about not liking these multi-party deals in the first place. He has always said he likes to do things bilaterally, one-on-one between countries, like he did, or like they appeared to have done with Mexico earlier this week.
Yeah, and it's important to remind everyone that when the president gave personal assurances to Justin Trudeau and at least one European leader that they wouldn't have steel and aluminum tariffs imposed on them, and guess what? Still today, there are steel and aluminum tariffs imposed. And so I guess people are kind of wondering when it comes, if we look beyond the NAFTA deal, he's talked tough on trade all week, saying he still thinks he may pull out of the WTO. The fact that he is ready to impose more tariffs on China, perhaps later next week, and that he's now tying trade with China to negotiations on North Korea. I mean, from your sense there at the White House, Abby, does it seem as if he's really writing his own script? Because I can tell you the sense that many Canadian officials get, at least, and others, is that it's really not final until you take it to the Oval Office and take it to the president.
That's absolutely right. It has been the practice of this administration where officials are conducting what amount to be good faith negotiations with their counterparts in other countries about trade, in which they're seeking to make a deal, but the president is dissatisfied with anything that doesn't meet his criteria for something that is fair. Now, this is a president who has railed against pretty much every trade deal that's been signed in recent years, and it's hard to know what kind of trade deal he will accept. So it is a fair question for a lot of these countries, what exactly is President Trump willing to do? Or is President Trump more interested in just imposing tariffs, which he's been pretty clear he believes is actually pretty good policy, pretty good trade policy, and that's why there's so much uncertainty here. He seems to be much more comfortable with tariffs than he is with striking a bargain on trade with a lot of these countries.
Appreciate it. Abby Phillip following all these developments late afternoon in Washington, D.C. Now, investors were watching those NAFTA negotiations very closely, as you can imagine, during Friday's Wall Street session. After a negative open, the Dow made a short-lived comeback, didn't last long before sinking right back into the red. Not a big deal, though, but that was thanks to earlier comments from the Canadian foreign minister. You see the market there down marginally, really. Now, overall, it has, you have to think, been a stellar week for U.S. stocks. I mean, look at that. And as well, the NASDAQ has jumped almost 6%. Now, we will continue to be watching that celebration of life for Aretha Franklin. Those are live pictures now, and we hand you over to that memorial.
Backup singers, a full band.